Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Asean regular meeting for Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Councilmember
We have a
Feldman?
roll call.
Councilmember Feldman?
Present.
Councilmember Shaw?
Present.
Councilmember Meyer?
Present.
Councilmember Wiltshire? And Supervisor Levenberg?
I'm here. Hope you can hear me.
Okay.
Okay. We're starting tonight with a continuation of a public hearing regarding a proposed local law to create a temporary outdoor dining permit process in the town of Asean. We opened this public hearing at our last meeting and continued the discussion in work session, also at our last meeting. So therefore, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but we hope that this local law will help our restaurants operate safely during the COVID pandemic. Additionally, this local law may have other applications in the future when a business may need to close, for example, their indoor space due to a fire or some other similar event. We had received some comments from the public who were concerned about ensuring this legislation addresses compliance with Governor Cuomo's executive orders and also with some quality of life ordinances, such as playing outdoor music or other noise restrictions. This legislation requires that establishments be in compliance with all local, county, and state regulations, including governor's executive orders and local laws addressing noise and music. The administration of these permits will also allow for a good deal of interaction between the applicant and our building department. The board will be asking our building inspector to be sure applicants are aware of their requirement to follow all local, county, and state laws and regulations, which we hope will assuage the concerns of those who brought them to our attention as permits are administered. I'm going to turn this over to Town Council Christy Tomadonna to walk us through the local law as it reads now before we open it up to comments from the public. Council Tomadonna?
So yes, Supervisor, as you mentioned, this is a continuation of a public hearing that was previously opened. The local law, I do not believe, has been substantively revised since the last public hearing, only to accept changes that were made after the board's last work session. So what this authorizes is the local law allows the building inspector, upon an applicant presenting certain information and satisfying certain criteria, to issue a permit for up to 45 days. It has to be a legally operating, fully enclosed eating and drinking establishment, or an eating and drinking establishment as those terms are defined in the zoning code. And all it allows is the use of outdoor dining. It doesn't allow congregating, it doesn't allow standing, and it expressly requires compliance with all other requirements of the law and the code, as the supervisor mentioned, which would include the noise ordinance as well as the cabaret ordinance, which is what authorizes restaurants to have music on their establishments. So that all remains unchanged. All that this allows is dining to occur outdoors. And there, like I said, there are certain criteria that is in the code that the building inspector has to ensure is being presented and satisfied, including a certificate of occupancy or other documentation that the use is legally operating, an explanation of why, due to a risk to public health, safety, and welfare, the establishment cannot use some or all of its indoor dining space, a plan showing both the indoor and outdoors of how the seating will be arranged to ensure compliance with law, including the executive orders that require social distancing and the guidance from the state. And if it is going to be in a designated parking area, showing vehicular and pedestrian access and circulation to ensure that can be done safely. So it can be issued, the permit, for up to a period of 45 days, and then it can be renewed for multiple permits, given that the applicant demonstrates that the circumstances warrant it. However, given that this is intended to be a temporary permit, if the applicant receives a certain number of permits, specifically if they receive, I believe it's 5 outdoor permits within a 12-month period, then the implication is that this is intended to be more of a permanent use, and they would need to comply with any other requirements in the zoning code for a continuation of that use, including, if applicable, going back for site plan approval. It also provides for a penalty provision, which was recommended by the building inspector for a violation of these provisions, and it allows the building inspector to pull the permit or issue the permit for a period of less than 45 days if he deems it appropriate under the circumstances. It also allows for tents to be provided over the outdoor dining spaces, but they cannot be enclosed tents. They can only be open air tents without siding. So that's pretty much a summary of the local law as it's currently drafted.
All right, so are there any questions about any of that from the board before I open it up, the public hearing to the public comment? Okay, so with that, we will recognize anybody who would like to comment on this particular proposed local law. And if you could be so kind as to raise your virtual hand if you click on participants, or I think is it *9 if you're calling from a telephone?
Yes.
They shake their head if that's right. Okay, or you can do *9 on your telephone, and then we will recognize you, and I'm going to just ask either Martha or Victoria, one of you, to recognize the participants in the order that their hands are raised if they would like to comment on the proposed local law.
Okay, Ms. Moore, I'm going to unmute you now, or I'm going to try it. Okay.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for recognizing me. Thank you also for calling attention to the music tonight, because that was one of my issues with this law. But my question first is whether anybody's read the cabaret license, because there seems to be a problem in that restaurants and catering establishments who have a cabaret license are exempt from permitting law enforcement on their premises while an event is in progress. So that seems to be an issue for me. There's also one other suggestion I have with regard to the law, which is that I don't believe the building inspector, whether it's Mr. Hamilton or a substitute or any successor, should be able to issue a permit to any catering eating establishment that is non-conforming in its zone. I believe the more appropriate path would be for that applicant to go before the zoning board, who could then determine whether or not a permit should be issued. I'm actually curious and baffled even why this town board is not looking to protect its residents, the ones that you were elected to serve. You seem to be looking away when an establishment intentionally ignores past rulings and sidesteps our laws at the expense of the very people who voted you into office. I am amazed. I am baffled. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wants to comment?
I don't see anybody else that's raised their hands. Give it another minute or so. Okay. Appears as if nobody else has raised their hand. So I think
so.
That's it.
Council Tomadonna, is there anything else that you wanted to say?
Not unless the board has any questions. I mean, we've looked at the cabaret code often. The town board applies it every year. That's never been raised as an issue. I can certainly look into it, and if the board decides it would like to take that up, that's something can be done. This is under the administration of the building inspector, and the building inspector has the authority to review this permit for compliance. So while the law does require compliance with the cabaret code, the noise code, and all other codes and laws within the town and beyond, I'm not sure that even to the extent such a provision does exist, it would preclude the building inspector from doing so.
I have a question. You hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, Marty.
go ahead.
If there was a problem, why wouldn't the building inspector come back to the board with it?
With respect to what? With respect to the permit?
Yeah, well, we were just saying if there was a problem, then he would go to wherever. I don't know where he was sending, but I think if there was a problem with the street vendors, well, they're not vendors, you know, restaurants, but why shouldn't he come back to the board with it? You know, before doing
I would.
anything.
Well, the whole intent is that this is
I
supposed to
think
be
that, you know,
permanent. Sorry, Dana.
No, go ahead, Christy.
I mean, this is a permanent, so the board is considering legislation to put in place a permanent, a permit that would be temporary. And so it would have to be renewed regularly for after the period of time for however long the permit is put in effect, which is a maximum of 45 days. And then upon renewal, the building inspector would have the opportunity to revisit the circumstances and see if it's appropriate to reissue it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've been careful with the way that this was worded to make sure that we are protective. And at the same time, I think that we have, you know, all of our residents in our community, as well as our businesses, there's a symbiotic relationship between business and residents to support one another, whether, you know, from tax revenue, et cetera, or just to provide goods and services. And we believe that it's necessary to find a good balance to do both. We think that this is a fair way right now to be able to protect businesses from failing. And we think that that's important in light of the pandemic, which is why we're looking for solutions. This is obviously one solution that we have. And Ms. Lamar is specifically talking about, I think, one particular business in her neighborhood. Obviously, this temporary permit is for all of our businesses, including the one in her neighborhood. And I don't believe, and I haven't heard from council, that because that it's a non-conforming use, that it would be, if there's a reason for it to be considered differently with regard to this particular permitted activity. So with that guidance, unless Council Tomadani, you have anything different to add or suggest, or if the board has anything else, I would suggest that we move to close the public hearing. Does the board members, anybody else have anything that they'd like to say?
I have a question about something that Ms. Lamar said. What do you mean the police can't go to the establishment during a thing? I've never heard that.
Okay, if you look at the cabaret law, which is section 68-7, restaurants and catering facilities shall be exempt from the requirements of 68 there are a bunch of chapters there. One of them is 68-14, right of entry by peace officers, which reads, it shall be unlawful for the owner, etc., in charge of any place in charge of any place licensed under the provisions of this chapter to refuse admission to any peace officer of the town of Ossining or the county of Westchester or the state of New York or any officer of U.S. government. That's section 6814. But if you look at section 68-7, cabarets are exempt from that section. So basically, nobody could go in, no peace officer can go into an establishment while an event is in progress. So if there's a problem, they don't need to let any peace officer in. And I see that Chief Sylvester is on this Zoom, and I would appreciate some comment from him. I will also go so far as to say that before Chief Sylvester's tenure, we called police a number of times, not for the current managers of this property, but his predecessors. And we were told by the police, we have an emergency on Route 9, we'll get there when we can, and nobody ever showed up. So this is a problem where in the town, the unincorporated part of the town, I know police have a lot of very important things to take care of. So we're just ignored. And the cabaret provision makes it real easy for police to ignore it.
All right, well, we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
So Ms. Lamar, we've not met, and I'm not sure specifically what property you're speaking to, but I'll be glad to share a few facts with you. First, I was not aware that the cabaret allows people to deny us. I was not aware for the simple fact that when we go to places, not me or anyone that I've ever worked with has ever been denied. Second to that, as far as I'm aware, any establishment in the town of Ossining that is open in the evening hours when typically this is an issue has a liquor license, and the SLA allows us for inspections of those under that. So there's more than one ways to get in and check something. Further, if there's a noise complaint somewhere, those measurements are typically taken from the property line, which wouldn't require us to go inside anyway. But all the legal loopholes and tricks set aside, I can only tell you that every establishment in the town outside and even within the village, we work to build relationships so that we don't get to that point. And I have never in my life heard of a business that has tried to preclude us from entering or for conducting some inspection. We try to be cooperative with those businesses so that we don't disrupt whatever they have going on. But if there's a noise that's sufficient that the complaint's coming from your home, which would be assuming it's neighboring some other property, we wouldn't need to go inside to get information in order to document a violation like that.
Well,
one last thing, hang on one second. I just want to add, because I'm going to lose, I forget quickly. The other thing is that there are times where our department has to attend to an emergency, and whether it's on 9 or 9A or whether it's in the town or the village, there are times when our entire staff may have to respond to something all at once. And when that happens, sometimes calls that are of a lower priority will be reassigned or maybe delayed. That's a fact of life in any police department anywhere in America. There is never a time when I can guarantee you that a cop is going to be there within 30 seconds for a call. It's a rarity. If a time comes where you ask for service and somebody says they can't come or it's delayed beyond what you think is reasonable, call my office. I'm glad to speak with you about it. But you know, that should be a rare occurrence when those things happen, although it is a fact of life for us.
Well, I appreciate that. And just so you know, I'm the daughter of a retired NYPD. So I'm on your side, but that was our experience in the past before your 10 years, Chief. So thank you.
Listen, we're all on the same team. So if there's something that we can work with you on, give a call and we'll talk some specifics.
Okay, thank you.
You got it.
Thanks, Chief. Okay, so now, are there any other comments or questions from the town board? Okay, so with that, I'd like to take a motion to close this public hearing and hopefully take up the legislation later on in the meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, fantastic. So I think we're getting into our announcements next. Is that right? I have like 20 million screens here. I am not at home, which is why you are not seeing my face. But I am here virtually. So let me just make sure that we are on to our announcements. I believe we are. Again, thank you to the public for input on this legislation, and we're hoping to take it up later on in the agenda. This past weekend, an event was scheduled to be held at Lewis Engle Park. The town had previously denied a permit for this event. The town has not and will not permit events, as in issue permits for events in our parks that clearly defy Governor Cuomo's executive order restricting the size of public gatherings. That being said, we are still afforded First Amendment right to freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, and several protests have been held on public property in the town of Asean, as well as elsewhere throughout the county, the state, and the country within the past few months. We know that there were advertisements circulated about this past Saturday's event, and that at one point, Westchester County Department of Health was aware of it, and they offered an opinion to the Austin Police Department that, as advertised, this particular event would violate the executive orders and state guidance restricting the size of public gatherings and prohibiting concerts and performances. The Austin Police Department at that time, as well as the town, began to take steps to cancel the event, including shutting power off to Lewis Engle Park stage and communicating with the organizer. Despite these attempts, and without permission from the town, the organizer continued on with the event utilizing generator power. The Asean Police Department was faced with the difficult task of maintaining safety in this public space. Ultimately, the event continued, primarily as a concert, and the organizer will need to face the consequences for his actions. We know the Asean Police Department made the best decision available to them in the moment, and their professionalism and measured approach was key in ensuring the safety of our community to the best extent possible. We also recently learned of a peaceful rally planned for Lewis Engle Park this coming Saturday, is set to be postponed. I spoke earlier in the day with Mr. Spencer Thomas, who is the event organizer, and he's decided to postpone the event until he can be sure it will be following all the regulations identified in the governor's executive orders relating to events. He wants to make sure he is in full compliance. He's looking forward to being able to have the event when the pandemic and size restrictions have been lifted. And we are hopeful that we can continue to work with organizers of events of this type to make sure that we do not fall outside of the governor's restrictions. We have Police Chief Kevin Sylvester here tonight to address this topic. Chief Sylvester, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I'll be brief tonight. I just want to say that this weekend was a challenging situation for our officers, and I understand that not everybody may agree with our strategy or our handling of it. The police department's goal is to protect people and to preserve their rights. And we'll go to great lengths to ensure that we do that in a way that's professional and that keeps people safe. So certainly we were put in a bad position this weekend by a concert promoter. That stops nothing from our mission. But I ask people to be patient with us and to allow this to play out so they can understand there's a good reason for the way that our staff responded this weekend. It was professional, and I think the outcome was the best of a bad situation, so I support them 100% in what they did. Unfortunately, I was not able to be there. As you can see, I'm not in my home. I am on vacation right now, which is why I have terrible lighting, but wanted to be here to make myself available for the town council. So as we go forward, the police department remains committed to protecting people's rights and protecting people and maintaining their safety. So, we look forward to working with the town very closely to ensure that our parks can be used appropriately and that people are afforded a safe environment to enjoy themselves.
And just for 1 second, I'm going to reveal that I'm also on vacation and I have very, very bad Wi-Fi connection, which is why I'm not leaving my video on, but I am here, and I was also not available this past weekend to be in attendance. That said, thank you so much, Chief. Moving forward, the town has some difficult decisions to make regarding use of our public spaces. This is an unusually challenging time. We are doing everything we can to remain vigilant and to protect our community's public health. We're going to continue to seek guidance from the governor's office. We already have started that. regarding what types of events are permissible under the executive orders. In the meantime, we plan on communicating with anybody who is attempting to organize an event to reschedule it for when we can be sure that everybody is in compliance with the governor's executive orders, which disallow events of 50 or more. We also hope to have a public discussion at a work session in the near future when we receive additional guidance from the governor's office. And as I said, we've already set that ball in motion, and we're hoping to hear back soon. We were hoping to have guidance as before tonight, but unfortunately we have not yet received that. So we will work with the authorities that govern these type of events at this very difficult time to make sure that everybody can be protected and be safe. So with that said, I don't know if anybody, I don't think anybody else has anything else they wanted to add, but I just want to give the town board a chance. And hearing nothing, I will continue with my announcements. Again, Chief, I do not want to keep you, feel free if you want to hop off. I know we do have opportunity for the public to speak at the end of the meeting. And so if you want to stay or come back, it's up to you. I don't think we're going to have a real long meeting ahead because we have had some cancellations, but I will try to scoot through my announcements. Last week, we learned that gyms in New York State. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to let you know, I'm going to hop off. If there are any comments that are relevant to me, either shoot a text or have people call tomorrow, and I'll be glad to speak with anybody that has a question.
Very much appreciated. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your vacay. Okay, thanks for hopping on. Okay, so last week we learned that gyms in New York State could begin reopening yesterday, Monday, August 24th at 33% capacity following inspection by local health officials. That's a huge task for Westchester County Health Department, but we're happy to report that our building inspector has been in close communication with the health department to learn of any and all opportunities that he can assist with to help our local businesses open as soon as possible. Less relevant here in the town of Asean, bowling alleys can also reopen. I think we used to have one of those. It's clear our hard work as a state to keep our distance, to wear masks when out in public, to wash our hands frequently, and all of those important actions have effectively curbed the spread of COVID. And of course, we want to continue to maintain that vigilance and not let our guard down. So please do remain vigilant so we can continue to meet these important milestones and get our small businesses back up and running. On that same topic, the governor's office continues to update the list of restricted states included in the travel advisory. Just so you know, I am still in New York. It's important that travelers review the information on the travel advisory section of the New York State website. Please do this before and after traveling to ensure you are taking the proper health precautions. Now, some more interesting news. Last week, the town's comprehensive plan steering committee met for the first time with our selected consultant, WXY Studios. This was an exciting meeting, and all of the reasons the board selected WXY Studios, their innovative approach to planning, their aesthetically pleasing presentation style, and diverse and engaging project team were all on display at our meeting. Our all-volunteer committee also shined, contributing to an engaging and productive conversation about what we hope this process will facilitate for the Asean community. Also, we had a member of the staff of the Pace Land Use Law Center who is on board to work specifically with us on community engagement. So we plan to have more information about community engagement opportunities in the very near future so that all of our Asean community, especially unincorporated Asean in particular, can be part of this conversation. It's very exciting to see this project moving forward and to really get off the ground, and we hope to schedule a town hall style meeting in the very near future regarding the comp plan, so please do stay tuned. That said, I know many of you who participate in our meetings and view afterwards on YouTube are also residents of the village of Asean. And the village is in the process of developing a comprehensive plan update and is seeking public input to inform their next steps. Now's the time to make your voices heard on your vision for the future of all of Asean. So I encourage village residents to check out the dedicated webpage for the comp plan at www.aseantomorrow.com to learn more. There's several options to submit your comments virtually, so please take the time to do so. Finally, once again, has your household responded to the U.S. Census? The census determines our representation to the House of Representatives, as well as critical funding decisions for the next 10 years. Yes, 10. It's extremely important that we ensure an accurate count in this year's census, as Asean stands to lose $2,500 per year for each uncounted person. So if there are 4 people living in your house, including babies, and your house does not respond to the census, babies, that's you, Greg Meyer, that is $10,000 per year that would be lost to our community, which could go towards infrastructure improvements, hospitals, schools, and many more public services, which we simply cannot afford to lose. It takes less than 10 minutes to fill out online, so please go to www.2020census.gov to do so. Do any of my board colleagues have any other announcements? And I'm also going to ask for liaison reports at the same time. All right, fantastic. So next up, we're supposed to have a departmental report from our clerk, Honorable Suzanne Donnelly. Also, it was her birthday recently, so please wish her a happy birthday. However, she had a conflict, so we look forward to hearing from her at a future meeting, and we will let you know about a new date very soon. In the meantime, we know that our clerk's office is very busy right now, issuing all sorts of permits left and right. Did you know tomorrow is National Dog Day? Well, neither did I until our friend Jamie Hoffman in the village manager's office reminded us. Please celebrate this very important national holiday by getting your dog licensed in Asean. Not only does this help keep your dog safe if they get lost and get you your ticket, but it also gets you your ticket to use Cedar Lane Dog Park, and it is also state law, New York state law. So let's be in compliance with all our state laws. Give our clerk's office a call tomorrow at 914-762-8428 to learn more. There's a good chance that Martha Kudasaka, our deputy clerk, who is on with us tonight, will answer the phone, and she can help guide you through the process. They're always also able to register you to vote for the upcoming election or help you fill out an absentee ballot application. It is a one-stop shopping service, so we thank our town clerk's office for all that they do. And now with that, I would ask if there is nothing else. I think we're at public comment on agenda items only, so not on anything that you want to talk about, but specifically any item that is on the agenda. So we will open it up for that right now. And if you have a comment that you would like to make on any of our agenda items, I would ask that you raise your virtual hand, and you will be unmuted by our budget officer, Victoria Caffarelli. And again, you can press *9 if you are calling in by phone. I'm not sure that we have any of those participants, but if so. All right, so is that, do we have anybody?
I don't see any hands right now.
Everybody? Okay, no hands being raised. Okay. All right, fantastic. So, and if you have any problem and you just want to unmute yourself for a quick second and tell us that you wanted to speak on this because you can't figure out how to raise your virtual hand, I'm going to give you one more second to do that. And hearing nobody on that topic, we will now get into our resolutions. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'll try to mute.
Well, before the board resolution, I wanted to remind everybody that you can actually get your dog license online. So we have the seamless docs now. So if anybody just wants to do a dog application, they can just go online and directly pay for it, and we'll mail it within a week. That's the easiest way to do it.
Just to be perfectly clear, I know you think that I staged that dog barking in the background all around the dog licenses, but I didn't, and it's not my dog. It's not my dog. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
All right, thanks so much, Martha.
Okay, so board resolution A, approval of minutes, regular meeting, August 25th, 2020. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the April 28th, 2020 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
Can we make a friendly amendment there?
Oh, sorry, August, yeah. August 25th.
No, July 28th.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know why.
Okay, so it should say, in the heading, it should say July 28th, no, July 25th, 2020.
Yeah. Today is August 25th. Yeah.
Wait,
So the heading should say July 28th, as should the body of the resolution.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, so do I have a motion with the friendly amendment to correct the date?
So moved.
Second.
No, wait. No, no,
All
no.
those,
Is it August 11th?
It's
Is this what-
August 11th. It's the August 11th meeting.
Oh, boy.
Okay, do you just want me to read it again or no?
Yes.
okay, I just want to make sure that the dates are correct because there's also approval of special meeting for August
Yeah.
14th.
That one is correct.
That's correct.
That one. It's just
Yeah, so it should be, I think it's August
Okay.
11th, August 14th we're looking at here.
correct. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay, so again, do I have a motion to change the date of the board resolution A so that it reads August 11th?
So moved.
And for the resolution? Okay.
Okay.
And second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
the approval of minutes, special meeting, August 14th, 2020. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the August 14th, 2020 minutes of the special meeting as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we need an
Anybody opposed? Do we have one abstention from Mr. Wiltshire? Is that right?
yes.
Approval of voucher.
Councilman Wiltshire? Okay, thanks. Okay, go ahead.
Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated August 25th, 2020 in the amount of $214,197.14.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Approval of contract unmet needs state funds for IIIB Transportation Overserved Services PY 2019 to 2020 for Senior Nutrition Program. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes the supervisor to sign an agreement with Westchester County Department of Senior Programs and Services for the purpose of receiving unmet needs state funds for III-B Transportation Overserved Services at an amount not to exceed $27,362 for program year 2019 to 2020, April 1st, 2019 through March 31st, 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So our senior nutrition program receives funding through the Westchester County Department of Senior Services, most of which is federal dollars. Due to shifts in the program that we have been administering as a result of COVID-19, our site director, Kathy Asaro, recently learned that we were eligible for additional funding, including these funds for transportation. As many of you know, our senior nutrition program has not been operating as usual because we have not had anybody into the rec center to congregate and eat together. And as we're going to continue to move forward to make sure that we keep everybody safe and how we can do that. But nevertheless, we're extremely grateful to Kathy for navigating these complicated contracts and for getting us an additional $27,000+ plus. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thanks.
Approval of Memorandum of Understanding, Sustainable Westchester, Inc. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin authorizes the supervisor to sign a Memorandum of Understanding with Sustainable Westchester Incorporated to allow the town of Austin to participate in the Westchester Power Community Choice Aggregation Program commencing January 1st, 2021.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. At our July 14th meeting, a Sustainable Westchester Power came to present on the upcoming contract for Westchester Power. the community choice aggregation program that's available to the town in Westchester County. This program not only creates demand for clean energy by allowing municipalities to select the green option, but it also ensures us a very low rate and specific to what Con Ed's been offering in the past few years. And there's a rate that needs to be beaten. So thank you to the team at Sustainable Westchester for continuing to administer this exciting program for our residents. We're happy to join up again for 2021. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you.
Resolution adopting local law number 1 of 2020, temporary outdoor dining permits. Whereas in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions related to social distancing and decreasing maximum capacity of indoor spaces in an effort to reduce the risk of spread of the virus, there has been an increased focus on operating outdoors and in the open air to the extent possible. And whereas in the context of fully enclosed eating and drinking establishments, and eating and drinking establishment use as set forth in the zoning code, these establishments are required to reduce their maximum indoor occupancy and have sought to create outdoor seating in order to serve their patrons in a safe environment and also generate the level of business necessary to remain viable. And whereas the town board desires to create a temporary permitting process to allow for such outdoor uses under appropriate circumstances, when the establishment can demonstrate that due to a risk to public health, safety and welfare, regardless of whether it is specifically related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the establishment cannot utilize all of its permitted indoor occupancy space to accommodate the designated capacity. And whereas the town board held a duly noticed public hearing at its regular meeting on Tuesday, August 11th, 2020 and Tuesday, August 25th, 2020 via video conferencing in accordance with Governor's Executive Orders 202.1 and 202.15, subsequently extended and a proposed local law number 1 of 2020 to create a new chapter 136 of the town code entitled Outdoor Permit Temporary, to establish a temporary outdoor permitting process for eating and drinking establishments in the town of Asean, and members of the public having the opportunity to attend and be heard. The public hearing was closed on August 25th, 2020. And whereas a short environmental assessment form, Part 1, was prepared pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the town board of the town of Asean for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday, prior to the adoption of this resolution, and now therefore be it resolved. The town board hereby adopts the short environmental assessment form, Part 2, and issues a negative declaration determining this action does not have the potential to have any significant adverse environmental impacts. As the permits are temporary, the local law is intended to provide a safe atmosphere for patrons of these establishments by enabling them to dine outdoors with adequate social distancing, and the building inspector may not only issue the permit upon the establishment providing plans and documentation to establish the outdoor dining can be conducted in a safe manner. And be it further resolved, the town board, after due deliberation, finds that it is in the best interest of the town to adopt the local law, and the town board hereby adopts local law number 1 of 2020 entitled Temporary Outdoor Dining Permits to create a new chapter 136 of the town code entitled Outdoor Permit Temporary, to establish a temporary outdoor permitting process for eating and drinking establishments in the town of Asean. And be it further resolved, the town clerk is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting into the local law book for the town of Asean, to publish said minutes in a newspaper published in the town, if any, or in such newspaper published in the county in which such town may be located, having a circulation in such town, and affidavits of said publication shall be filed with the town clerk, and to file a copy of said local law with the Secretary of State of New York.
Okay, I'd just like to take a motion with, it's actually written this way, but just one friendly clarification, because I think you read one word wrong. I just want to clarify that enables them to dine outdoors and with adequate social distancing, and the building inspector may only issue the permit upon the establishment providing plans and documentation may. Okay, so I just want to make clear that that was how the resolution does read.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and then roll call vote, please, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Councilmember Feldman,
Aye.
Councilmember Wiltshire,
Aye.
Councilmember Meyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Shaw,
Aye.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
Aye. All right, well, thank you, everybody. This is actually our first local law for 2020, and I just want to thank Council Tomadana, our town planner, Valerie Menastra, Building Inspector John Hamilton for drafting the legislation with careful consideration for our local businesses and their residential neighbors. I'm sure that I speak for the rest of the board when I say we are pleased to be able to offer this temporary solution to local businesses to continue to operate during these challenging times. Okay, so with that, we have no monthly reports. So next up, correspondence to be received and filed.
Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following correspondence: town planning board minutes for February 19th, 2020 and June 17th, 2020, July 15th, 2020, architectural review board resolutions for 39 Old Albany Post Road, 125 Morningside Drive, 584 North State Road, and town zoning board of appeal minutes from March 2nd, 2020 and June 29th, 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we do have a few outstanding sets of planning board and zoning board minutes that we needed to catch up on to be accepted by the town board. 2020 has definitely gotten the best of us. So we are cleaning things up a bit tonight, and we thank you for your patience. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. So with that, I will open it up to visitor recognition on any item whatsoever. Visitors are afforded one 4-minute opportunity to speak. If you'd like to speak on any subject, please raise your virtual hand and you will be unmuted. Anybody want to speak?
All right, I see you. I'm unmuting you again, which you may need to do yourself.
Okay. Are the zoning board minutes online? And if not, can they be posted online? How would I get copies of them?
They will be posted online within the next couple of days. They're posted online after the town board has accepted them. So as soon as the opportunity to do so, they will be posted.
Well, nobody's been able to tell me where I can find the others. Forget these two, but previous minutes?
They should all be they should be up to date now, besides the minutes that were just adopted by the town board tonight. You know, I don't have everything in front of me right now, but if there's a set that you are looking for that you're having a hard time finding, you can certainly give the office a call tomorrow morning, and I'm happy to find what you're looking for. But we should be up to date at the end of 2019, with the exception of these minutes from 2020 and a couple from 2020 included.
Okay, I haven't been able to navigate to it, and when I spoke to somebody at the building department, they said they weren't online. So I'll call tomorrow to find out how to navigate to it. Thank you for that. Also, Madam Supervisor, in your Friday update, you mentioned that there was a slight uptick in the virus in the unincorporated town. I wonder if you have any information with regard to the contact tracing, where it may have come from or something like that.
That information actually isn't shared with us. The only thing that is shared for the sake of making sure our ambulance corps, our fire department, and our police department, if they need to report to a home, is aware that they need to wear special protective equipment. Not that they don't anyway, they do. But now that things have been winding down, you know, that we're sort of back in the situation that we were at the start of this, which is that, you know, they may end up going to a home. So none of that additional information is shared. It is shared with the people who would be impacted directly. It's all protected, HIPAA protected, as far as I know. Council Tomadana, I don't know if you know any more about that, but as far as I know, all of that would be protected, and they only specifically reach out to those who would be impacted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board this evening? Okay, so not seeing anybody?
Not seeing
And
anybody.
again, not seeing anybody. I'm going to give you one last chance, just if you cannot figure out how to raise your virtual hand and did want to say something, if you want to just unmute yourself. And still not hearing or seeing anybody wanting to do that. I am going to thank everybody for attending, and we'll ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session for advice of counsel. So do I have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, wonderful. So just want to wrap up reminding everybody that next Tuesday we are going to resume our normal town board meeting schedule with work sessions on the first and third Tuesday and regular meetings on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. When I say regular meetings, I mean resume regular meetings still by Zoom. Next Tuesday, September 1st, is a work session, and we anticipate continuing our meetings virtually via Zoom for the time being, as allowed by executive order by Governor Cuomo. I want to say that it goes through, does it only go through the 6th of September? Is that right? Or am I wrong about that? 5th of September?
The 4th.
But we know we're good until the 4th of September. But we anticipate the governor waiting again to the last minute to extend that. I know that we're continuing to try to keep things as safe as possible as schools are beginning to reopen. So if that will change, we will share that information out via our web blast along with meeting agendas. But we do anticipate seeing everybody back on Zoom meetings for a little bit longer at least. So we thank everybody for your participation.
Dana, I'm sorry, I have one thing. The schools just sent around an email today that they're not opening till at the 21st at the earliest.
Okay, good news. Okay, so the 21st at the earliest for schools opening. And I guess that means for the hybrid in-person portion of it. Is that true? Or are you saying when you're saying opening?
Correct. It's for the hybrid for kids that were going to be in person for the hybrid version. It's going to be all virtual at least till the 21st.
Gotcha. Okay, so I did miss that. So thank you for that update. So with that, we will see everybody next week on Zoom. And again, thank you. And thank you for your patience and understanding at this very difficult time. Have a great night, everybody.